Hello, and welcome back to United Financially.
Hello.
I'm Josie, and
I am Crystal.
this is Crystal. And today we are going to dive into the world of scholarships.
Yeah.
And so our goal here is to support our community and help our community's financial health. And so what better way to do that than to help our future leaders achieve their educational goals?
Yeah.
So, in this episode, we're going to cover how to apply. We're going to talk about some eligibility criteria for scholarships. We're going to talk about best practices for writing scholarship applications. And then, of course, we're going to leave you with some resources that you can use when you go to apply. So, let's get started.
Yeah. Let's talk about how to apply for scholarships. We're going to, number one, do our research because we don't know what to apply for if we don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
So there are search engines. One I recently discovered was scholarship.com, and I did play with it a little. There are a lot of questions to be answered, but at the very end, it did seem like a really cool resource.
Okay.
But most importantly, your guidance counselors.
Yeah.
It's their job.
Yeah. They're the experts.
Yeah.
And every step of the way, too.
Yeah. I know many moons ago when I was applying for scholarships for college, my guidance counselor was the only resource, and she was an amazing guidance counselor.
That's great.
Yeah. How about you? You went to college, right?
I did, and I did not apply for many scholarships. I don't know why. I just saw it as a lot of work, and
it is a lot of work.
And I don't think I understood the benefit at the time. I don't know.
That's all right. I like that you said that because when I was applying, I didn't quite understand what I was applying for. I just knew that I needed help financially going to school. I didn't know much. So that's why we're creating this podcast for the students that don't know what it's really about.
Yeah. And so my parents helped me with my financial situation while I was in college, but ultimately, when you're out of college, it's on you. And so now that it is on me, I kind of have to go back and be like, okay, well, what loans do I have? What grants do I have? What should I pay off first? Like, what's the interest rate? So I kind of have to backtrack a little. And so it's important for you, even if your parents are helping you, right, or someone else is helping you, it's important for you to know, because ultimately it's going to be your responsibility.
It is.
The money, at least.
Yeah, for sure. So scholarships will help you and your parents pay less in the future. So I want to start by, I reached out to three amazing guidance counselors in the area. We have Dorothy from Marquette Academy, and
we also have some helpful tips from Jen Rios from Ottawa High School, as well as Emily Carney from LP High School. So thank you very much for your input.
Yes. So let's start with what Dorothy said, and all three completely different perspectives, and I would not have thought about these. So great tips. So Miss Dorothy said, my recommendations would be to apply for every opportunity that a student meets the criteria. Check with local organizations as well as parents' employers for opportunities. I tell the students that every dollar they receive is one less dollar that they will have to borrow or that their parents will have to help them pay back. Absolutely great tips. Another guidance counselor also told me that make sure you're applying your first year, because your first year of college is going to be the most money you're going to receive with scholarships and grants than any other year. Yeah, so that's a good way to think about it.
That's a great tip.
She also said many scholarships are specifically listed within the schools of their universities. So universities have a main scholarship page that normally these students may have to write a one essay, and it will be diverted to all the scholarships that they meet the criteria for.
That's amazing.
Yeah, talk about efficiency.
I love that.
And then make sure to always pay attention to the deadline is how she finishes this. So thank you, Dorothy, so much for your insight and what you share with the amazing students at Marquette Academy. Every year, Financial Plus gives scholarship awards to them. So you have some great kids over there. So after we've done all our research, we want to prepare. So gather necessary documents such as transcripts, letters of recommendations, and personal statements. And then lastly, it's time to apply. So follow the application structure carefully and submit all required material before, again, the
deadline. These deadlines they're not lenient.
They're not a joke.
They mean it. They mean it.
Absolutely. This year, as well as last year, we had almost 70 applications sent in with Financial Plus Credit Union members.
That's great.
It absolutely is. And the worst part is getting that application after the deadline when you've already chosen the others. So please make sure you're submitting it on time. It's really important.
Yeah. Thanks, Crystal.
You're welcome. And back to you, Dorothy.
Thank you. So we're going to talk about some common eligibility criteria. I know when we think of scholarships, I know at least in my experience, when I think of scholarships, first thing comes to mind is that full ride football scholarship, something like that.
Yeah.
That is one of the criteria. If you're very good at sports, if you're gifted, sure. They hand those out left and right.
Me too.
Okay.
Good for you guys.
But you're in luck because there's some other ways you can be eligible for a scholarship. The first one is academic achievement. So there's many scholarships out there that have a minimum GPA requirement or a minimum standardized test score requirement.
Yeah.
But that's not the only way.
No.
That's not the only eligibility.
No. So specifically, I know working at Financial Plus Credit Union, we don't always go based on grades. You don't have to have the top GPA or highest test scores. We're going to look at your overall application. So please don't get discouraged if you think that scholarships are based just on your academic grades or if you're the best at a sport, because it's not always the case.
Yep. So that's a great segue.
Yeah.
The other criteria is extracurricular activities. So as Crystal mentioned, that would be your sports, your gifted football players or divers or what have you. But that also includes any other club activity, anything you're interested in outside of school, organizations in the community, volunteer hours. That's a big one.
Just being a member of Financial Plus Credit Union, that is how you're going to be able to apply for our scholarship.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah, easy. Member check, let me apply.
So the third criteria, most common for scholarships, is financial need. So these scholarships are the ones that are going to require financial information to report on, and then they ultimately decide what that need is based on your income.
Yep, absolutely. So I want to add to, since we're talking about financial needs, if you're planning to attend a more expensive college, because I know you strive for that 4-year and you just want to go to that university, it just sounds so wonderful. That's not bad. But make sure that the career you're pushing will be able to fund the cost of your living after college. So you've gone to this 4-year college. So whatever career you're planning to go to needs to fund your living as well as all the student loan debt that you've received going to this university. So for example, starting at a community college, and it just so happens that we have one.
A good one right here.
A good one. Thank you, IVCC. Yeah. You are wonderful. For example, starting at a community college can save you a significant amount of money. The average annual tuition for a community college is around, do you want to guess what it's around?
For community college?
Yeah. Annually?
1 year?
Yeah.
$5,000.
I like it. Not too bad. So it says the average tuition is $3,990. That is not specific for IVCC. Okay. That's just an average community college. Compared to $11,260 for just a public 4-year college.
Okay.
So if you know you have basic classes that you need to get out of the way, maybe pursuing a community college.
And get those gen eds out of the way because it's cheaper.
It is.
Because, Crystal, that number, I know you said it's an average, the 11,000. You are not going to go to a 4-year university for for $10,000,
No.
even 11.
Yeah, it did say for a public four-year college. I don't know what that means.
Okay. Maybe I'm confusing.
But no,
what's
universities are really expensive, and you have to keep that in mind when you're going for the career you want. The education that you're getting, can you afford to pay your student loan debt if you don't get awarded all these wonderful scholarships that you're going to apply for?
Right. Because you want to live a fun, fruitful life when you're outside of school too, and it's I think it's important to like put yourself in the shoes of who you're going to be when you're outside of school, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like that tip.
Yeah.
That's good.
So this can help reduce your overall debt and make your education more affordable. So think about community college before university. Both great avenues. We just want you to keep that in mind. This is the Financial Plus Credit Union financial literacy specialist person.
Yeah, I think that's a really good suggestion, especially around here since we have a great community college. Next, we're going to talk about best practices for applying, for writing those essays. So first, you need to start early. And as we mentioned before, we have some feedback from guidance counselors. I have a great tip from Jen Rios at Ottawa High School that I'm going to read to you because it's fitting for this starting early tip.
Yes.
She says, I would suggest that students apply for any and every scholarship they possibly can. There have been years that scholarships have gone unawarded based on no applicants.
That's sad. That's money left on the table.
Starting freshman year, students should create an activity resume and continue to add to it throughout the high school career with clubs, sports, volunteer work, community service, things like that. By the time they are seniors and fill out scholarship applications, all of their info will be right there, and they won't have to rack their brain to remember all that they've done, or worse, make it up.
Yeah, I love that. And with how much we use technology, seriously, like, I don't know if this is going to date me, but like a Google Doc, like just have something filled out and you can just add to it every year, every time you commit, and then it won't be such a big burden at the end. So that was such a great tip from Jennifer.
Yeah, I love that. The last thing she says, I tell students to think about filling out scholarships as a job. Spending an hour on one application could earn them $500. And $500 an hour is pretty darn good. It is. Yeah, it is. Also, typically the more work that goes into a scholarship, the less applicants we receive. So fill out the ones with essays, letters of recommendations, things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. If it seems like a lot of work to somebody, they're less likely to do it. But if you take Jen's advice and you start early and just keep having it on this doc, it's not as much work. So you're more likely to be awarded this, what seems to be a complicated application.
Yeah, I like that. And if you start early, you can just keep going on it little by little, and then it doesn't feel like that much work. So our next tip for best practices is to tailor each application. So customize your essays and your applications to highlight your strengths and make sure it's fitting the scholarship criteria. So we advise you to apply for as many scholarships as you can. Make sure you are utilizing your time well and going through and making sure that the right application is going with the right scholarship and that you're yes.
We get an application and they're not a member, they're like part of a golf club or something.
Yeah. Yes, because if you forget in your application process to tweak something to fit for an application, you're going to go instantly in the no pile. It's glaringly obvious when you are not really paying attention to the application. Yeah. So, I think Crystal has a little more to add to this.
So at Financial Plus Credit Union, we love seeing students pursue trades and the ones that like to stay within their community to help us grow stronger. So we receive a lot of applications. And I would say one of my favorite parts of receiving these applications is reading the personal section. What is their 5-year plan, and then going into their 10-year plan? Like, I want to know, I want that heart and soul. I don't want it to just be like, I did this, I did that, and then done and hope they qualify. Like, give me a little bit more. So we love reading that part of the scholarships. We also like to give back to our youth in our community. We know that investing in a brighter future for everyone is important for our community. So that's why we give. I will just share a little bit.
Yeah.
Typically, Financial Plus gives 20 scholarships every year, 10 $500 scholarships and 10 $250 scholarships. Well, the president and I had met, and we had so many amazing applications. It was really hard to decide. So we're giving 29 scholarships.
Wow.
So nine more.
That's
more.
Great.
Yeah.
And more money.
And thank you. We're going to be giving $500 to each of these students versus 10 $500 and 10 $250. So they're all going to get $500.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
The last thing we want to talk about with best practices for applying is actually from Emily Carney from LP. She had some really great tips, and I want to read them to you. So Emily says, do not pay for scholarships. The point of the scholarship is usually to get money that you don't have to pay back. If someone is asking you to pay to apply, it very well could be a scam.
Scams.
I would not have even thought of that.
Yeah, I know, right?
But if she's saying it, it must be out there.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately. Emily also says to only include information that you're comfortable sharing. So some scholarships may ask for very personal information, like your annual income or those official looking documents. And it's hard to discern which applications are real and which are fake. So be cautious when providing such personal information. I love that.
I do too. I like where she's going with this. And also, they're your guidance counselors. So if you do have a scholarship application that you're questioning, I would run it by them, and then they'll be able to give their expert opinion as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Emily's last tip is, the more scholarships you can apply for, the better your chances are. We've heard this before. So many students underestimate the possibility of winning a scholarship. That was me in high school, truly. She says, however, it's an awfully good potential payout for such a small amount of time and effort. And that's so true.
It is. Think about it. I mean, what's an hour of your time filling an application versus all the money you could possibly be getting? I filled out, as many applications as I could. I honestly don't even remember looking at that criteria. I think I just filled out every application, sent them all off, and that paid off because I got a full scholarship.
Nice.
And believe me, it wasn't grades. It wasn't because I was the best sports player. It was really just telling my life story, and they must have felt my heart and soul into my application, and that's what awarded me this full scholarship. So
that's
take
great.
your time.
We're talking about local scholarships, and with local scholarships like Financial Plus, their mission as an organization is going to drive their scholarship. And so where am I going with this?
No, I love this. So our mission is to make sure we have a healthy financial community.
The local organizations that have the scholarships, there's bound to be an organization out there that fits your passion, interest, and skills. I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Or they're going to just feel your emotion and your eagerness and your passion in the application and relate that way.
Because they're offering the money up, and they're saying, hey, come and get it. So take that opportunity.
Yeah. Speaking of all of this money and scholarships, I want to lastly talk about saving for college. So as a financial literacy specialist, I go into schools starting with preschool all the way to seniors, and I am preaching this to every grade that understands what I'm saying. It's never too early to start saving, and it's never too early to start saving for college. The sooner you begin, the more you can save and the less financial stress you will face later. Even small amounts saved regularly can add up over time. For example, if you save just $50 a month starting your freshman year of high school, you'll have saved $2,400 by graduation. And that's not including any interest or investments that like your money earning. That's just straight up $50 every month till you graduate. You'll have $2,400 to start.
Hey, you could even cut a deal with your parents, $50 a week. Or $25, split it with them.
Ooh, that, or I was thinking, will you match it?
Oh!
Yes.
You're good. You're good.
Oh, goodness. So by starting early, you can reduce the financial burden on yourself and your parents if they're offering to help pay your college. Mm-hmm. Remember, every little bit helps. Your future self will thank you for what you save when you can save it.
Mm-hmm. My student loans are laughing at me right now. Your future self will thank you.
Absolutely.
I know you maybe can't think of it now. You. Ugh,
listeners. You listeners.
You. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of United Financially. We hope you picked up some helpful tips. And we encourage you to pass it along, share this episode with your friends and family. On the next slide, there's going to be some resources. You can either scan the code with the phone, or with the phone. On the next slide, there's going to be a QR code if you would like to scan with your phone. Otherwise, there is a link in the description. And as always, give us a like, share it with your friends, share it with your family. And until next time, we're out of here.
Bye.
Peace.